Oh, okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started. As I mentioned before, actually, let me see here. I want to really quick. Hang on one second. Oh, what's it gonna let me do? I just want it to pin. Here we go. Okay. There we go. Now it's not going to be bouncing all over the place. Okay. So this is a conversation really about for two people. It's really for coaches who and healers who want to get into corporate and also for people who are in corporate but want to be seen more as a leader. Maybe they've been having a hard time, like being passed up for promotion. This is something that unfortunately women still experience quite a bit of. Um, really not being seen as the authority, as the leader that they are. And there's a huge change that's happening within leadership where the old kind of patriarchal paradigms are starting to fade out. And there's a new wave of leadership that's really coming forth. And this is what my partner Haley and I are really bringing to and presenting. This is what this conversation is here for. And now, and this is actually a beautiful example because Haley's actually quite sick today and is unable to be here. So I am hosting this call and with all of the tech issues that have been happening today, uh, everything still gets to happen and move forward. Excuse me. And we are also going to be rescheduling this. So hopefully when tech issues aren't such an issue and when Haley is also feeling better and we're both able to be here. But for now, this is just really going to be a conversation. And Rivers, it's just you here right now. So it's going to be the two of us. We called it an open dialogue because in this new wave of leadership, there isn't hierarchy, right? However, in business and in corporate, there is hierarchy. And one of our goals is we really want to bridge that gap. So even though in the corporate sphere, in the corporate structure, there is hierarchy, we also want everyone to feel and to be seen as an equal part, right? And so we get to bridge that gap. And this is a big part of what we are talking about. This is a big part of what we're here to do because, the really one of the qualities of a really effective leader is understanding that they aren't everything. They don't have to do everything and they don't even need to know everything, but there is this ability to delegate and to trust in your cohorts to be able to get whatever job or whatever task done. And unfortunately, in a lot of the kind of older realms of leadership, there isn't that full on ability in everybody to be able to trust. And we see this a lot with women as well. And you can chime in if this sounds familiar to you, is really being able to trust your fellow sister, right? That she's not going to just try to take credit for everything that you did, that you can, make a plan to have something be done and you can trust that she's going to do what she said she's going to do and also vice versa. So you don't have to feel like you're the only one or that you're going to be betrayed, that you somehow have to up like outshow this person so that you get the credit. You're nodding your head. So I'm guessing, right? This sounds familiar. And this is something that is really, really rampant and is seen a lot in the entrepreneurial space, right? So Rivers, you know me really well. I'm just going to do a quick introduction for anybody watching the replay. Hello, my name is Lindsay Dam. For the last 8, almost 9 years, I have been working with female entrepreneurs, primarily female entrepreneurs, some men, and really helping them shift their energy. I'm an energetic and frequency master. I've been a professional energy healer for over 2 decades, and I help people rewrite the unconscious stories. I help people heal their traumas so that they can trust, so that they can delegate effectively so that they can actually move the needle forward in their business, in their lives, in their income. I do not believe that you have to hustle in order to make more money. In fact, I think that that is exactly what is wrong with so much of not just entrepreneurial business, but in business and work-life balance in this day and age. I also do not believe that you have to sacrifice time with your family, time by yourself, mental health, emotional health and well-being, even physical health and well-being in order to be able to have the success that you want. I firmly believe that you get to have a present life, whatever that looks like for you, within yourself, with your passions, outside of work. I firmly believe that you get to be present with your kids. And in fact, the more present and enjoy you are, the more success you have. So I teach people how to work within the laws of the universe. We practice a lot of quantum physics to blend realities and bring what you want to you rather than you constantly having to hustle and chase. And a lot of times in the hustle and chase, you burn yourself out. But not only that, you repel what it is you want. I'm in the business of attracting, of allowing, of enjoying rather than chasing, hustling, and repelling. So this is what I specialize in helping my people with and helping my clients with. It is a lot of personal development. It is a lot of shadow work, whether or not you are familiar with that. And what we are doing, what Haley and I are doing is bringing all of this into the C-suite, bringing this into the corporate world. Now, Rivers was saying before we started this call, and it actually might be on the recording from before when we were chit-chatting, however, I don't think it was, is that, you know, she believes, and hopefully it's okay, you just said this, so hopefully it's okay for me to repeat this, is that you believe that you have gifts and your work could be of value to people in the corporate world, but you don't know how to package it and present it. Hi, that's been me for the last 2 years, okay? And as Haley and I have come together and joined forces, it's so funny because we think that, everything is like so much harder than we make it out to be until you realize like, oh, it was actually really simple. And so this is what Haley and I have been doing. We've been really bridging this gap. We just had an amazing meeting last week with someone we're going to start working with next quarter. And, we get so in our heads, especially as spiritual female entrepreneurs, as healers, and as coaches, about how to present this in the corporate sphere. And we are here to bridge that gap. We are actually going to be creating a whole mastermind and inviting some of you into it as we move forth over the next month or so. But really, we wanted to have an open conversation, an open dialogue about what is really needed and necessary in order to be able to bridge this gap and in order to bring your great work to the corporate world. And if you are already in the corporate world, whether you're working in marketing or sales or, financial budgeting, financial management, whatever your position is, or even product development, is to help you be seen more as a leader and to be able to trust all of this. So, okay. So first of all, what is a sovereign leader? So a sovereign leader is someone who is able to really see and present themselves as a leader, who is able to delegate and who is able to effectively work in tandem as a team without being emotionally swayed here or there, without having to take on additional responsibility, although there may be needs and times, but without you having to carry the load. We think about a sovereign leader, and if you think about it, we'll say a queen who is building a castle. In my experience working with a lot of entrepreneurs, it is entrepreneurs trying to do everything themselves, right? And if this resonates with you, just type a 1 in the comments or say me in the comments or even if you are already in a corporate team, but you feel like you have to carry the weight of the team. So if we think about a queen who is building a castle, she is not going and mixing the mud for the grout to put the stones together and in place. She is not carrying the stones. She is delegating and watching, and also beyond just watching the castle be built for herself, She is focusing on the forward momentum of her queendom. She is not sitting there just waiting for everything to be done. She is future visioning, putting plans in motion for the direction of her queendom, for the direction of her people or her business, right? Or her team. But she is also able to trust that the people that she has delegated to build her castle is being built. And she's going to check in on the castle. She's going to check in to make sure that it's going according to plan, that it is meeting and most likely exceeding her expectations. And if it's not, she's going to make some decisions that are going to adjust it to make it more effective. She's being the leader. She's not in there doing the day to day. Right? And what a lot of people are doing is they're doing the day to day and they're spinning around on a hamster wheel and they're wondering why their business isn't moving forward. I see some head nods. I see some smiles. I see that this is resonating, right? So to become an effective leader, whether you are working for yourself, whether you are working with a team, or even to be seen as a leader as you are presenting your work to a corporate to help support the leadership, this needs to be understood. Your job is not the day to day, right? Your job is to learn to trust and to cultivate. And you may be in a position where right now you are having to do it all, but you are working towards and you are making the decisions that are going to lead you forth so that you can bring your business forward rather than continuing to step on or to, excuse me, be on that hamster wheel. So there are some main points that need to be addressed for this. And I know that when we do our next open conversation, Haley has her talking points that she's very passionate about. She's so well versed in discussing. And so I'm going to leave those up to her. But for what I'm going to be talking about today is I'm going to be talking about the three main things that you need to be able to have as a sovereign leader to be able to move your business forward and to be able to effectively collaborate and to be able to delegate so that you know that your things are being taken care of. Those are emotional intelligence or EQ. I also want to add in adaptability intelligence, the ability to adapt. This is sometimes called AQ. Okay. EQ is emotional intelligence, the ability to adapt and to pivot when, make a different decision if things are not working or going according to a plan, or you run into roadblocks and you need to pivot. This is called AQ. So these two, right? And a leader is going to be someone who can make decisions, not sit and mull over things for 3 months. You lose so much money when you sit back and go, I don't know. The ability to adapt is somebody who can look at everything objectively without taking things personally. This is where your emotional intelligence comes into play, and be able to make a quick, decisive decision to be able to move things forward. So AQ and EQ. Trust. We're going to be doing a trust exercise today, and then also relationships, the ability to cultivate and to nurture healthy relationships in and out of business. Okay. One thing that I run into a lot, and this is something that I have had to overcome myself, so I understand this very, very well, is, especially for women, right? Because there's so much conditioning about a woman being able to earn more than a man, being able to be the provider, and also being able to have a relationship. There is a lot of conditioning because not very long ago in our history, women had to rely on a man for money. She could not have her own bank account. Any money that she did make had to go into her husband's bank account. The only way she could be provided for was to be provided for by her husband, unless if she was by herself, she was an outcast on society, she was called a spinster, or she was doing something that perhaps went against her values, but the only way she could make money was to perhaps sell her body. Okay. So it wasn't very long ago in history that women were able to have their own financial freedom. Okay. Even if she her family were to die and she were the only remaining one, she was not able to be the recipient of an inheritance, right? So it's not unreasonable. And a lot of women give themselves a hard time for not being able to separate the money from the man and not being able to think that they are worthy or good enough because of being a woman, right? So there's a lot of anger, there is a lot of trauma associated with this, there is a lot of conditioning. So if this is you and you find that it's hard for you to receive, or that if you are in a relationship that you have to be rely on your man, that you can't have both the money and the man, I'm just going to ask for you to practice giving yourself some grace, because you are not the only woman who struggles with this. And it does not have to be one or the other. You can have it all, whatever your definition of it all is. Okay. So all of these things are really, really important to cultivate if you desire to be a sovereign leader, meaning, well, my computer just shut down. I think it just overheated. Oh, my computer just overheated. Okay, well, ooh, that is hot, hot, hot. It's like our first 70-degree day here, and I really wanted to be outside because it's gorgeous, and I've been on calls all morning inside. But yes, my computer did just shut down. So hopefully we won't have issues with the phone overheating. If things do begin to be spotty for you, please let me know. Okay. So emotional intelligence, right? I'm going to go over a couple of key tips here because I don't want to overwhelm you. But if you can let yourself start taking these in, we're going to do a couple of just exercises here. I want you to be able to leave here with a deeper understanding and things to practice, right? You're not going to go from 0 to 100 overnight being a master at this, okay? But as long as you practice, I have an 8-year-old son, and he's very into soccer right now, and he talks about Messi a lot. He gets very, very annoyed with me when he tries something for the first time and he might not be very good at it. He's on spring break, but he's in the front yard riding his bike, but I don't want him to hear me. If he tries something for the first time and he's not very good at it, he gets very frustrated with himself. And he also gets very annoyed with me because this is such an ongoing conversation of, the way that you get better is that you just practice it, right? So many people put pressure on themselves to have their webinar be perfect the first time, or to have their email funnel be absolutely perfect, or to, if they don't have their messaging, or if they say, or if their branding isn't perfect, they put all this pressure on themselves when really perfection is a lie. And all you're doing, every single step you take every single day, is practicing. And some days you're better at practicing than others. If you've ever been an athlete and played a sport, you will understand. So I like to talk about Messi, who, is one of the greatest soccer players of our day right now. And I think he just retired, or he's about to retire. But, I talked to him and I'm like, do you know how Messi becomes so good? Is he goes to practice and he practices dribbling, and he still practices passing the ball. He doesn't have to go and practice and try all these big, giant, expansive next level moves. He gets better because he practices the foundations. Or Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan practices free throws. He goes to practice and he practices dribbling the ball. He practices basic ball handling skills, passing the ball with his teammates. He practices his layups. He practices his free throws. He practices his 3-pointers. Everything is a practice. And if you let yourself have that mentality going into whatever project you're doing, going into, whether it's something brand new that you're doing, or if it's something that you have done a million times before, you are simply practicing. Okay, this isn't the end all be all, and not all is lost if you mess up on something, or if something doesn't go exactly as planned. All you are doing every single step of the way is two things. You are practicing and you are gathering information. Okay. And what I see a lot of people doing is letting external circumstances or fake numbers get in the way and impact their their concept of self and their concept of how well they're doing. For example, if you make a post on Facebook and 5 people like it, and that's it, maybe one person, maybe nobody likes it. It can be very easy to say, well, I'm a failure. I did something wrong. When all you're doing is really just gathering information. Okay, well, for whatever reason, Facebook didn't show that post to a lot of people, or Instagram didn't show that post to a lot of people. Okay, what can I gain from that? Maybe it's the exact same post you posted a week later and it gets 150 interactions and engagements. Okay, well, we're just gathering information. For whatever reason, Facebook decided to push that post versus the one from a week ago. No matter what, all you are doing is practicing and gathering information. So when you can take that pressure off of yourself, this is cultivating emotional intelligence, which is an absolute requirement for getting ahead, whether it is your own business or getting ahead in the corporate sphere. Okay. If you are going to take everything personal, I say this with so much love, you're not going to be able to get ahead, and people are not going to take you serious. You know, the old adage, it's just business, it's not personal, is so, so true. And I really want you to practice this, okay? One of the greatest things to remember, and I want you to do this with me, is I want you to point. Like if you're talking about somebody or you're like, upset with somebody, you're going to point at them, right? So you can go ahead and point at me. And I'm going to say, oh, Rivers is so blah, 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 right? Notice if you're pointing at me, notice how many fingers are pointing back at you, right? So when somebody is saying something about you, what are they really doing? They're mirroring something very deep, and that is most likely a deep insecurity in and of themselves. Okay. I remind my clients of this all the time. I remind my son of this all the time. I remind myself of this all the time because we all fall prey to that. Okay. So I don't know about you, but a week before my period, I am falling prey to my own bullshit all the time. Okay. So remember, if somebody is pointing at you and saying something about you, or if you perceive that they are, this is what gets in the way for most people is you are making up stories about what you think someone else is going to think or say or do. And again, when you are showing up as a leader going to, go up for a promotion in your corporate job, or a leader even in your own business with your own audience, and especially as a leader showing up, going and presenting in the corporate sphere, in the corporate world, talking to the CEO or the decision maker about bringing you into their team. Most of the time, you are making up stories in your own head, and this is just showcasing your own insecurities, in which case that is the opportunity for you to really ask yourself, is this true? Am I making this up? Is there another possibility right here? Okay. Is there another possibility, something that could be happening, could be going on? You want to question your bullshit, right? I did a training this morning on really living in your truth, something that is there. It is absolute law. Most of the thoughts you are thinking about yourself, about your work, about the quality of your work is your own insecurity and bullshit. And that's not to say just don't think that, because you're human, you're going to, but it's look at it with love and ask yourself, is this absolutely true? Are there any other possibilities about what could happen here as a result of this? Okay, so that's a quick, simple exercise for cultivating emotional intelligence. Now, remember what I was saying earlier, with every interaction, with every post, with every pitch, all you're doing is you're practicing and you're gathering information. Okay. And I will say, I just went through a sequence, having about 5 meetings with an SEO, or excuse me, with a CEO, with a team. And it was like every single meeting, I'd go in with my doubt and be like, oh, but then I would question and I would go, okay, well, what if that's not true? I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what he's going to say. I'm just making up scenarios in my head. And I would go into the meeting, and guess what? Every single meeting was, okay, can you send me this? We'd get to the next step. We'd get to the next step. We'd get to the next step. Okay. So when you go in more open, even though it might feel vulnerable and you might feel like a fraud, that's okay. All you're doing is practicing. And the more you practice, the more comfortable you get. Remember, Michael Jordan still practices his 3 free throws. Messi still practices his passes and his dribbles and his kicks and his, shooting the soccer ball. Okay. So, simple step for emotional intelligence, take your emotions out of it. All you're doing is practicing, and all you're doing is gathering information. Okay. Now, the second one, and I'm bummed my computer overheated, although that's a great sign because it's such a beautiful day, is this exercise, right? We need to cultivate trust in order to be able to have a healthy collaboration, healthy relationships, right? Trust and relationships are the next things we're going to be talking about here. In order to be able to have healthy trust, first of all, we need to learn how to trust ourselves. And I want to tell a little story about trust, because that's how I teach, is I tell stories. Is I used to be the person, and I used to say this, I trust you until I don't, which basically meant I trust you until you burn me, and then I don't trust you anymore. And I tend to be a very happy-go-lucky, very easygoing person. And what I realized after, 20 years of, wow, that didn't work, is I had to start trusting myself, because there were some people that I could really, really trust. And they would continue to earn my trust, right? Right now, it's I don't trust you. You show me that I can trust you. You listen to people's actions over their words. And as you practice this and take a different approach, now that was my approach to trust. If you actually have trust issues, if you know that you have a hard time trusting, especially other women, if you have a difficult time trusting other women, trusting people, when you're working on a assignment together, if you're working on a project together, or if you're an entrepreneur and you have a hard time trusting people that you hire to do your work, to do a good enough job for you, or to get things done timely, or even to do the work, let me know and just type trust in the comments. Okay. Because this is one of the biggest things that's going to impact you and prevent you from being able to move up in corporate and in leadership. And I'm having some thumbs and some head nods here. So if you were to Google, I was going to do a screen share of this, but I'm not able to right now. But I'm going to just do this while I'm on my phone with you. So we want to Google the definition of trust. Okay, and I'm doing this right now. I'm going to read this to you. Definition of trust. So the definition of trust, and I encourage you to do this on your own, is a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. So a firm belief. You know that this person is reliable. You know that this person is honest. You know that this person has the ability, the capability that they claim to have. Okay. So, in order to be able to trust other people, we have to be able to trust ourselves. So, if you look at this definition, I want you to ask yourself, in what ways are you not cultivating this within yourself? Do you lack reliability? Do you lack honesty? Right? Do you get called out on something and have a hard time admitting or acknowledging that you made a mistake or you were wrong? Do you perhaps maybe overinflate your abilities so that people will see you in a certain way? One of the things that, and I have been flexing this for more for myself, is that my word is law. So that means what I say I'm going to do, I do. Right? Do you do everything you say you're going to do? And if you don't, or if you're not able to, are you able to communicate that, or do you make excuses for it? Right? So, who are you in trust? How trustworthy are you to yourself? This can be quite crunchy. It can be very crunchy, especially when we start talking about areas like business or money or relationships, right? Maybe in your romantic relationship. Do you say you're not going to do something because it triggers your partner, but you have a habit of doing this thing that you know crosses your partner's boundary, right? But then do you get upset about your boundaries being crossed, right? So where are you? How can you start to cultivate more trust within yourself? Because you can only trust others as much as you can trust yourself. Now, how this plays out in business, how this plays out in leadership is maybe, so have you ever hired somebody and thought, this person knows more than me? I need to listen to everything this person says, even if part of it goes against what you deep down know to be true for yourself. For example, maybe you, oh, well, again, I teach from my own story. So my very, very, very first business coach, she would have me get on the phone with people doing discovery calls and have me go deep into people's pain points. Now, when I first came online, I was doing fertility coaching. So the people that I was doing discovery calls with were people who had done who have done IVF with no success. I was doing a type of fertility coaching. I was really specializing in preconception preparation, getting the body ready, getting the eggs and sperm healthy for both male and female. And she would have me get on the phone with people. And I remember one time, and it did not bode well with me because people that I was talking to had experienced infertility. They had experienced miscarriage, failed IVFs. Some people had put in hundreds of thousands of dollars their entire retirements to try to have a baby, and they weren't. And so digging in on somebody's pain points, it felt, when she was coaching me to do this, I knew that I didn't want to, but I trusted that she knew better than me, simply because maybe she was making more money than I did, or she presented herself in a way. And I will never forget this. I got on a call and this woman was bawling her eyes out. She didn't sign up to work with me, but I felt absolutely awful. I felt like the worst person in the world. This woman came to me to try to see if I could help, and I made her feel horrible. And it is, I'm going to go inside because I don't want this to overheat. And that was one of the worst pieces of advice that I ever followed in business. And I was trusting her more than I trusted my own self. We're going to come sit right here. So excuse me. So do you tend to listen to others more than yourself? Okay, Rivers, I couldn't hear what you were saying. So if you tend to trust others more than you trust yourself, pardon? Pardon?
Oh, I was just asking if I could chime in. I could
Yes.
like say yes, yes. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I didn't know if
It's a little spotty.
Okay. I didn't want to
though.
interrupt you. I just wanted to say yes and okay. I'm in my kitchen, so well, anyone who's new who's watching this, Lindsay, I never knew that story. I mean, we've worked together for how many years, and that's so fascinating because you and I have talked about calls that I do, but see, I have the opposite thing where people want me to not do calls, but I keep feeling in my soul and in my divine direction that actually I'm pretty freaking good at it. I can get conversions when I do it right, and then it's more about how I do them, the energy that I give, the timing that I give, the automation, the all that stuff, right? Honoring my body first. What would she do, right? As you've taught me, who already has it, and what she says, who already has what I want. She doesn't say don't do calls. She says my health comes first. So that means I get off the phone. Or maybe it's that, right? What I'm looking at now is adding a free module or a module or two of a course so people can get to know me more before they get on the phone. But it's not about doing it or not. And so it's so different for every niche and every business owner of what they're good at and what they can do and how they can convert. And so I just love that you shared that story because, you know, we've worked together for a long time. And I never knew that. I just never knew that story. So I thank you for sharing that because that just, it makes so much sense. And I was just on a call before this and we were talking about that. And I just wish that I had had the understanding when I had been in business containers that maybe that person was only telling me what had worked for them. And also now sometimes it's also something where I might have actually done some more stuff or have been successful at something that they hadn't tried. And so it's not that they're trying to steer me the wrong way, but yeah, my biggest regret is, or my biggest pain point is not going in on when I really felt to do it, but going off of some who hit 20K, do that, do this, and my body and my gut going, I don't think so, but what do I know, right? And my inner 8 balls like going like this instead of just going, let me listen, let me take in the information, and then decide and trust. And so, so anyway, I just wanted to chime.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. You know, it's so true because everybody, yes, people share what works for them. And a big part of my coaching, and you know this, Rivers, is that I'm going to bring you back to your own truth and help you uncover that, right? Not just what the ego is saying, but your deep soul-led truth, because that also is going to help you stand out as a leader, right? A leader needs to be able to make decisions, and a leader needs to be able to trust, most importantly, themselves. Not a leader is not following what everybody else is doing. I'm going to repeat that. A leader is not following what everyone else is doing. A leader creates their own path, and they're going to be able to create their own path from making decisions and trusting their own intuition, right? But it's very hard to trust your own intuition if you are not practicing cultivating trust within yourself. And so that's why, you know, one of my favorite exercise for cultivating trust is to Google the definition of trust and identify which of the qualities and characteristics resonate with you more, that, and i.e. feel like kind of like the weaker spot. Are you reliable? Are you honest? Are you honest about your ability? Do you have the ability, or are you maybe selling something that you really don't fully feel really strong in? Did you just take a, marketing masterclass, a free masterclass, and now you're selling these things that you haven't really embodied, right? So it's honesty in your ability, right? And i.e., right, if you're doing something like that, then again, you're not at all being honest with yourself, and you are acting out of integrity, right? So trust is also being in integrity. Okay. So where are you not being in integrity with yourself? And a couple of those might, but what I suggest is pick one of those areas. I promise you, I absolutely promise you, because I've done this, that if you just start improving in one of those ways, right? For me, when I first started this, it was reliability. That was the one that really stood out to me. And that's been a few years ago, but now it's really just truth. Like, oh man, if I make a mistake, or if I don't do something that I say I'm gonna do, right? I'm like, oh, am I like justifying it? Or am I not doing what I say I'm going to do? Right. So that's like, I anchor that in so much more. And I guarantee you, within a day, you start feeling more proud of yourself, and you start building that and building that and building that. And we can always chunk that down and improve in any of those areas. Okay. So this is trust. So when you have emotional intelligence, and when you're able to cultivate trust within yourself, as you're able to cultivate trust within yourself, then you're going to be able to be really honest about, what do I need to delegate? What do I need to have done, but I don't have space for it, but would keep me on the hamster wheel. Now you're able to delegate, and you can trust yourself, because you can look at these and be like, does this person have a history of following through on what they say they're going to do? Has this person shown themselves as being reliable? And if it's somebody that you're looking at hiring, right, whether it's on Fiverr, whether it's someone else, you can look at the social proof, look at that, have a conversation with somebody, and trust your own instincts in that. Does that feel good? Yes, no, okay, right? You're going to have a feeling inside you, and you've just practiced that, and practice it with something small. It doesn't have to be, with a VA or a team member right away. Practice it with something small. You're going to start to cultivate that inner knowing so much better. Okay. And then all of this leads into our ability to nourish and cultivate healthy relationships. I will be honest with you, not every relationship is healthy, right? But when you practice and you have strong emotional intelligence, the ability to adapt, and you have trust, you're going to be able to collaborate either in team or with other people in a much healthier way. You're not going to be taking things personally. Okay. And because you have this trust within yourself, you're going to be able to communicate effectively to lead a healthy collaboration. So collaboration might be partnering with somebody. It might be, if you are working in corporate, you don't get to choose who your colleagues are. You don't necessarily get to choose who you are working with. So if that is the case, you can present yourself and show up as the leader in that team, whether or not you are it. But by reverse engineering, what a lot of people do is they get so fixated on the circumstance at hand. But we want to think about, what is the goal here? Okay. So if the goal is, you have whatever project A you're working on, Okay. Then we get to reverse engineer that. Where are people's strengths and where are people's weaknesses? Start cultivating and have people work on the things that they are strong with, right? When we were promoting this masterclass, one woman mentioned that collaborations never seem to go as planned. That is almost always the case. It's almost always the case because things happen, right? But what the difference is are you making it mean something about you? Are you taking it personally? Are you saying, well, this person did this and I had to take and carry all the weight? Is it true that you had to fully carry the weight, or was that person maybe given tasks that were not part of their strong suit? Right? And how are you communicating to other people? Are you being avoidant and passive aggressive because they are maybe not doing their job up to your standards or they're not doing it as effectively as you would? So who are you being in this? If you're starting to be passive aggressive and or avoidant, right? I want you to think about this project is done. You were the full leader in it, whether or not you are technically the leader. The project is done. It went better than planned. Everything got taken care of, right? You really positioned yourself as the leader. Who would you have been? Would you have been wasting your emotions on what this person did or didn't do? Would you be wasting your mental and emotional health on perhaps how you responded to this person? So, again, this is where emotional intelligence comes into play, and your emotional intelligence determines the quality of your relationships significantly. So if you're being passive aggressive or avoidant or, frustrated at this person, I want you to ask yourself a question. Is this fair to me? Is this loving to me? Is it loving to me to be upset about this? Is it loving to me to make this mean something about me? Is it loving to me to hold on to anger or frustration towards that person? Because the truth of the matter is that you holding on to frustration or anger towards somebody is like you drinking poison and expecting them to get sick, right? One of my leading questions always to myself is this fair to me? Is this loving to me? If you're letting yourself get emotionally wrapped up about somebody outside of you, again, when one finger points out, how many are pointing back? Most of the time, it is triggering something within yourself that maybe you need to forgive yourself about sometime in the past or sometime in the present, right? As you practice this, like, oh, this is actually nothing personal. This person's probably ill equipped. Maybe they've got something else going on. Maybe they don't have the mental capacity to be able to do this or the ability to do this. Maybe they're in a position that they're not cut out for. Okay, I'm not going to make this mean anything about me because they're pretty much most of the time is not any malicious intent. And if there is a malicious intent, then even the more reason for you to practice this emotional intelligence and not take it personally and really step forth as the leader and go, okay, you know what? As the leader, I'm going to have somebody else do this, or maybe I'm just going to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to do what needs to be done for the forward progression of the company, of this team, of this project, whatever. And I will have an appropriate conversation with the right person. If it is with this person, if you're able to have a conversation with this person and maybe ask them what kind of support or help that they need, maybe they're doing something that they are under equipped for and they don't feel comfortable acknowledging that, right? Maybe there's somebody else that can help them and give them the resources and ask them, what are some resources that would help you be able to move forward? Or are there some other tasks that would you are able to take the lead, but without making it mean anything about who you are, your worthiness, your deservingness, your abilities, your capabilities. It means nothing about you, right? Everyone is projecting from within them. And the more you can remember that, the less personal you take everything, and you're able to just focus on, okay, you know what, this needs to get done. Yes, this person's having their thing over there, whatever. Okay, what are the resources that are available to me? How can I move forward? How can I be a more trustworthy person to myself? And then because I am more trustworthy to myself, I'm able to show up more as a leader, and especially more as a sovereign leader. A sovereign leader doesn't have to say, hey, look at me, I'm the one that did all of this. It stands out. The energy and everything absolutely stands out. I have a private client, and for the last 2 years has worked with somebody who is very ill-equipped for the position, yet because of the bureaucracy being within a school district, there are very specific protocols that they have to follow. They can't just outright fire somebody, right? So within this organization, because the school district is an organization, right? She came into this position, and the person from the get-go started displaying a lot of passive aggressive and covertly narcissistic behaviors. And because of the amount of work that she's done and we've done together, she was able to spot this. Okay. We have worked tremendously on cultivating emotional intelligence. Last year was a harder year. She was still working on her emotional intelligence and got better and better and better, and was able to then just communicate effectively to the appropriate channels, not making it be a big drama scene and go, oh, can you believe that guy or this asshole over here, right? Like, that is not the emotional intelligent part as a leader, right? It's like, we're just going to do what needs to be done. I'm going to communicate effectively, but I'm not going to make a big stink out of it and make a big dramatic scene about it. Okay. And again, because of the bureaucracy and the nature of how this organization has to run, right? We did a lot of work on her ability to trust herself, on the wounds, especially that a lot of women feel of being seen and being heard and being valued. And what happened was she came into this school year. She found out at the end of last school year that they were going to be taking measures, that they held a little hearing and trial. And what they had to do for their legalities was put the other person on a growth plan. She continued to document. She didn't get all upset, at least in person. She has the permission to come in and vent to me in our private container, however, not in the workplace. And then she was able to just document and give them again to the appropriate channels. And she learned that this person was on a growth plan, and recently learned that they were going to be recommended for non-renewal of their contract. Although this has taken 2 years, she has been repeatedly shown that she is seen, she is heard, she is supported. She's not this crazy person, right? Which at previous places or at previous times in her life would have been made out to be, because she was able to trust herself, cultivate that practice, and cultivate the emotional intelligence. And she's done a lot of work on her relationships. So she knows and she feels, and has recently found out that this person has indeed, in fact, turned in his resignation, because that was one of two options that's given to them, right? Things don't always take place overnight, although it depends on the organization, right? Within the universe, though, and energetically, she's being shown, yes, you are seen, you are heard, you are supported, you are taken care of. Okay. So these things happen, and you are consistently shown signs of this. And this person is rewarded actually with greater responsibility. She is the number 2 in her organization of her department, and she is consistently shown with more rewards, more organization, is very highly paid, more so than anyone else that does her position in her state. So again, I just want to show this is a very real example, not me, of one of my private clients, but this is her cultivating her sovereign leadership abilities within an organization, because we don't always get to pick and choose who we are in collaboration with. However, things will happen and start to take place the more you cultivate this, rather than constantly having a poor me party, constantly going, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Because that all that does is keep you on a hamster wheel, and it prevents you from being seen as a leader, whether or not you work for yourself, want to step into corporate, or are really even building your own corporation. Or maybe you are in corporate and for some reason you keep getting passed up on for promotions. Each of these things we are talking about today, I guarantee you, if you start cultivating and practicing these things, you will get that promotion. You will be seen as a very effective leader, and people are going to want you in more and more decision-making processes. Okay. Any questions? I have talked for a little over an hour now, and I really want to honor your time. I honor that you are being here. And Joanna, hello. I want to say hello, welcome. There have been so many tech issues and things, emails getting sent out at the wrong times, even when they were scheduled at the right times. So I want to thank you for popping in here towards the end. But the replay of this will be sent out. As I mentioned in the beginning, Haley has been very under the weather today. So we are also going to be rescheduling this and having the both of us come together. You will also have a workbook for that next meeting. But I do want to open this up to any questions, any comments, anything that you may want to add, share, have clarity on, whatever. Rivers, I did see you unmute yourself.
Hey, Lindsay, thank you so much for this. And I will be excited to come for the replay if I can.
Yeah.
Or the redo, the encore, the do-over.
The next level.
I just appreciate you so much and just love you immensely. That's not what I was going to say. But I love that you always encourage me to trust myself.
Yeah.
And I love that you even say to people, don't even trust me, or not don't trust me, don't even listen to me if this goes against what you feel.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's what I say too. And not a lot of leaders, not a lot of people will say that. I found myself saying on a sales call the other day, you don't even need me. That's the truth. But I'm icing on the cake, and some icing would be really nice right now. And I think it'd help you. But I'm not going to tell you that you need anyone. What I wanted to ask you was, like, for you, and like just moving from, or not moving from, obviously, we've lived in a world and been in corporate spaces, but do you have any suggestions that maybe I'm not thinking of around looking at, positioning ourselves, not even positioning ourselves, because there's a lot there in terms of like, what we would present or what we'd write out, but I'm just talking about even like the basic bare bones of like even where to look, or like what, because I might be thinking one thing and yet it's something totally different, right? Like my head goes to like creative corporate communities I've been in, and the truth is that wouldn't even maybe be the best fit. Like something even that's more like high tech could maybe even be a good fit for something that's kind of more, out of the box thinking. So I was just wondering how you decided where to look, or what you'd suggest for people in general, or, me specifically as an example, because we have done so much work together.
Yeah. So first of all, I would say that you already have the connections you are maybe perhaps just unaware of. Also, I will say that tech companies love people like us. They really, really do. And they have big budgets. The beautiful thing about this, and this is a big part of the mastermind that we are putting together, is really teaching yourself how to package, how to position, how to get in contact with companies like this. Because, you can, and depending on the company, I mean, they'll pay $500,000 for a year and they're going to pay you in full upfront. Right. So just letting that sink in right there and let your nervous system feel into that. But there is a way of communication. There's not one process, right? And I think we were talking about that a lot here today, is there isn't one process. There are different methods of getting into contact with people, but it all comes back to relationships, right? I guarantee you already are in relationship with people who can put you in contact with decision makers. And so, one of the things that we are doing is offering a 10% referral fee. We'll pay you up to $50,000 if you put us in contact with somebody and they sign up. We'll pay you 10%, right? That's I don't mind $50,000 in one lump sum. I really don't mind that at all, right? So, so you can connect with people who are in corporate. I'm sure you have plenty of friends that work for companies, right? So there are a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of different ways to connect with people, and it's all about relationship building, nurturing, nourishing, cultivating. And the moment you start opening up about this, people are going to be like, oh yeah, I've got connections here. I've got connections here. I've got connections here. You know me, I spend a lot of time in Marin County in California. I have a lot of tech connections, people with Apple, people with Square, people with Google and Dell as well. So, and then I just had a big meeting last week with from somebody. This is so funny. Okay. This is just evidence of how you never know where things are going to come from. And I love this. We met, this is a person who has his own commercial construction company. It's just in their second year. Okay. So we're going to start working together in Q2, or towards the end of Q2. And we matched on Bumble like 12 years ago. We never even met in person. He ended up marrying my high school best friend's cousin, right? So there was like this Facebook thing or whatever. And, I had no idea. He's been following me since before I'm doing what I'm doing now. This has been 8 years. So for 12 years. And then about a year ago, started messaging me on Instagram. And I was like, this name's kind of familiar, And so anyways, we've been having a conversation. He's like, I just started this company. I'm in the red. I'm losing a ton of money. Right. And so anyways, we just had a $200,000 pitch meeting last week. And we're going to start moving forward at the end of Q2. Right. So I'm like, we matched on Bumble 12 years ago. Like what? I had no idea he's been following me online this whole time. So, connections are everywhere. He's been
following your work this whole time?
He's been following me this whole time. Like I hadn't talked to him apart from until a year ago.
Gosh.
I hadn't talked to him in 12 years.
Right? That is amazing. That is so crazy.
This is what I say when I'm like, your connections are everywhere. And he also has he's like, I have a ton of friends in Marin County that have their own businesses. Do you know they have big budgets for people like you? I'm like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. This is why crazy. I'm doing this work, right?
So the point is I need to get on Bumble. Just kidding.
I
was just talking about it yesterday, just even for friends, people were talking about it. Yeah, that's amazing. Wow.
I reached out to him every few months. Yeah. Every few months
say that to your friends, right? Like I'll give you a referral. Like I'll give you I could even say that just to whomever in a text on a Facebook post, right? I'll give you
totally could.
XYZ if something happens, or
you're going to see me making more posts like that.
Okay. I love it.
I guarantee there's people in your community that already have the connections, right? It's already there, right? And then it's about learning how to package, how to present all of this in corporate speak so that
Right.
they're like, yes, I understand how this is going to help me out with the bottom line, whether it's employee retention, ROI, all of this stuff. And again, we're going through all of this in this mastermind that Haley and I are putting together. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, I love
I love it. Such
$500,000 paid in full. That's
Yeah,
nice.
I love it. Such an important shift. I think especially because this is something that I heard. You know how much I love Kelly Roach's work, and something that she talks. I kind of think of her as like the head of the like masculine viewpoint, right? So to me, you're the head of energy, and she's a masculine in my head. These are the leaders
Hmm.
in my.
Love it. Love it.
And one thing she would talk about is how like this is the season. Like this is when people are quitting. You see a lot of people quitting, right? And even people who did really well during the pandemic, which I wouldn't say I did really well. I mean, I had growth and things, but I'm not someone who hit it out of the park and by any stretch of the imagination. I was still in the red. But my point is that what you're talking about is so important. And I had a conversation today too with someone about who's really versed in Facebook and algorithms. And she was saying too, like the big dogs are going to pivot and you're going to see like changes, you're going to see, right? And so what you're saying is so important. It's not, to me, my thing, part of my mission is about mission, right? And that
Hmm.
mission is not determined by what Facebook does with the algorithm. I mean, it's a big deal. I've gotten all my clients from Facebook, but that's not going to stop me. So I love this I love this angle, and I think it's really important, and the work matters, and your work matters, and I love it. I'm like, let me go to Nordstrom and get a suit that fits me.
Yeah, or whatever. Like if you
Yeah,
believe you
I
have
know.
to have a
I love
suit,
it.
like, especially the tuckies. I mean, my sister wears rain boots and whatever
Oh,
to
that's
work,
true.
right?
Yeah, I was
Doesn't
wearing concert
matter.
t-shirts to work. Yeah, exactly.
Totally, totally. Especially
I mean, we
West
practice
Coast,
all
right?
this
West Coast
language.
corporates a little more laid back than East Coast, and especially Canadian East Coast is way more formal. But you know,
Yeah. I mean, we've
yeah.
been doing those of us who've been, I'm just saying there's a lot of reps a lot of us have been doing for a long time that could easily translate into something like that, where they're looking for that zap, that motivation, that morale that you really, even when you can't pay your employees to get, because everybody goes to pay. And I was having a
Hmm.
conversation with an ex-boyfriend about this, about like when your boss feels like you're really good. Like I had a point where my boss couldn't give me a raise yet, but he said to me, you don't know how good you are. And I didn't
Hmm.
forget that. Like that meant so
Hmm.
much to me. I was like, oh, you see me and
Yeah.
I'm going to go work harder now. But when
Yes.
people said, this isn't good, this isn't good, but like they didn't see how much I could do for them.
Hmm.
Just because some of that's value based. We
Or
all
they
know
didn't
everyone else is different.
acknowledge it,
But just
right?
that type of acknowledgement that was so like, it was actually kind of a sexy acknowledge. It was such a big acknowledgement. It wasn't something you normally hear. You don't
Yeah.
know how good you are. Was like, I felt like he just gave me $1,000 bonus, like easy,
Well,
like,
it,
because that's how it felt in my body. And so communicating some of that, or I think that that's part of what they want, right? Is to be able to give their employees something in addition to money.
but think about what that did for you. And that also as a leader, right? That as a leader, communicating that made you feel seen, made you feel heard, made you feel valued, made you feel important. And that got you working harder for him,
Mhm.
right? And so we get to bring this and that in a healthy way. Whereas being shamed and being belittled in order to try to get like that's old paradigm leadership, and that's not what we're here for, and that's not what we're bringing to companies, right? So again, we want to bring a healthy new wave, new style of leadership that brings out the best in people. So you're like, fuck yeah, I get to go to work for this guy today. I'm stoked, right? And we talk about impact, right? Yes, there's a bunch of money to be made in corporate, but we talk about impact as a solo entrepreneur. A lot of people that I work with, right? You include solo entrepreneurs working by yourselves, right? By the way, we don't change the world by doing it all ourselves. We have a team, we have companies, collaboration, healthy relationships, right? We build this framework of amazing people throughout the world, and this is what we're doing. And this is what we're doing by bringing and creating these kinds of leaders. This is a big vision that Haley and I have, is really connecting the dots throughout the world, because we don't all do it ourselves. And that's the wounded sisterhood, or that's the sisterhood wound. There's all these wounds that are making people feel like they have to do it themselves. It's not safe to trust this person. It's not safe to have a team, because I always end up doing it all by myself and they never do it as good as I do, and da 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 da, right? That's all that old toxic shit, right? And it keeps us separated. We want to come together. We want to grow together. We want to get filthy rich together. We want to, more than that, have massive impact. Millions of people work in the corporate sphere. And so if you can work at the C-suite, the highest level, on the leadership there, and then bring that into the company and the culture, now you're making some serious impact. All right. And this is one of our big, big visions. And we're so happy to bring it out to people and to really be birthing this. This is why we're having this open conversation and this dialogue here. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's so good.
I love it.
It's so important. My mom worked for Intel. I worked for Mentor Graphics with her just as an intern, but she was at Intel and other tech companies when they were really growing. I mean, making the little Intel dolls and the whole thing. And so she'll say things about my skills that I don't see, right? She'll say, "You're so great at marketing. Why don't you do?" And I'm like, because to me, it's did they buy or not? How good is my marketing? Right? Because
Well,
I'm thinking, right, but it's more than that, right?
With
It's
you, it's your concept of self that's
right.
skewed, right? And it's just like, let's just smooth that out. It's like a crystal that has fragments in it. Like you're seeing a fragmented sense of self rather than the whole amazing, incredible, beautiful fucking genius that you are. And really owning that. Yeah. Right? Instead of looking at, like I was talking about earlier, going, oh, well, the Facebook didn't show many people my post, so that means I must suck. Right? Every single thing you do, you're gathering information and you're practicing. That's it. That's all there is to it.
Right.
Okay, well, that worked well. That didn't work well. Maybe it was just the time of day. Maybe it's just the algorithm. Maybe it means nothing about me. Huh. A week later, same exact post, 150 engagements. Okay.
Exactly. And I was just talking to Christine about that, about how there's so many people she does the Facebook expert. How there's so many people that are marketing that it's basically like, it's you and it is you, but also Facebook has made changes. And I thought that my head was telling me, and I'll make this brief, but my head was telling me, yeah, people don't like me, all this crazy shit. When I went live on my personal page and people weren't, when I used to have 30 people there and I had 2. And then one day I saw my favorite hypnotherapist who I've worked with, who I told you about, and I saw him live and I was the only one there. And I thought, if he only has me here, it's not, maybe something's up. And I went to her and she said, oh yeah, there's been, now that people can have a professional profile, she said she believed that Facebook wants people to pay ads to have those posts go. So they're pulling down and I don't mean this in a negative way. I mean this in the spirit of what you're saying, that Facebook making an internal decision does not mean people hate Rivers. My name's Rivers. Right. It's like literally, it's not about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was so helpful to know. And I'm like, thank you for telling me that, because then I can, I can move differently. I cannot, it just was really helpful. And so, and you're right, it can also be like a time of day and all these things, but it's so easy to get caught in our head. And you're right, as leaders and as business owners,
just making
we don't have
up
time
lies
to
and
cry over it for
stories.
3 months.
Yeah.
We gotta just shift and do what needs to be done. So
again, and that's the emotional intelligence, the EQ and the AQ, the ability to adapt and the ability to just not take things personally, because it's not, right? I guarantee you, and I love you, and I say this with so much love, people aren't spending all day every day thinking about you. They're not spending all day all day every day thinking about me. I mean, maybe my son is some of it. Maybe my boyfriend is some of it, right? Maybe my mom is.
Though.
Like it's a fleeting thought.
Some of us are though.
Right?
Some of us are thinking about you.
I mean, I know. I
it's true.
I love your love,
like,
Rivers.
Jessica Rutland, did you see this Lindsay's Telegram thing? Like we're literally saying nice things about you. Okay.
Oh yay! I love it. I love it. I'm so excited to go in there and see it. I love that new step of the membership. I'm very excited for it. But that's a side note. So yeah, right. It's that EQ and AQ. And this is going to get you ahead, and this is going to let you be seen as a leader, because people who aren't leaders, who are followers, right? Again, your job is to not follow and do what everyone else is doing. You stand out as a leader when you're cultivating that trust that we talk about, and that relationship within yourself. And that comes also from cultivating and curating trust by doing it your own way. You're paving a path for others to follow. And that's beautiful, right? But when you're listening to everyone else above yourself, you're not being a leader. That's juicy. Okay. All righty. Jonna, welcome. I hope I'm saying your name correct. I know you popped in towards the tail end, but I want to say welcome. And yeah, see if you have any comments, questions, anything that you'd like to add, ask, whatever.
Well, you are saying it correct. Thank you. Because most people don't. Yay.
Yay. I'm so glad. I'm big on names and enunciations. So
yeah, I heard it. Me too. No, I'm glad that I was able to hop in even at the tail end. This is honestly something that I've been telling myself all day. I just hosted a retreat this last weekend. It was a single day. And I, leading up to it, was sick the entire month with whatever this flu business is going around. That's such bullshit. And I just got out of bed in time to get to the retreat. So there was like so many stories circulating this last month and even today. And I was telling myself, don't take it personally. It's not about you. And also you've been sick and also. So this is like, I landed at the right spot of what I needed to hear today. So this was good.
I love how that happens. It's so wonderful.
And learning a little bit more about you. I think I just randomly signed up for this at some point on Facebook. So I didn't even
that's so cool.
I'm glad that I was sitting at my computer and hopped in, at least for the bit that I was in.
I'm so glad you did too. I'm going to stop the recording right here really quick, but I would love to, if you wouldn't mind,